There's no question that 2017's been an impressive year so far, with Game of the Year contenders coming out of our ears. As we move closer to the summer, expect to see that number of big hitting releases slowing down, but we're not there just yet, because May has some really exciting looking titles on the cards. My name's Mike Williams, with me is Jake Kulkowski.
Hello.
Let's take a look at the new games arriving this month. First up this month is Prey, which is out on the PC, PS4 and Xbox One on May the 5th. Developed by Arcane Studios, Prey puts players in the role of Morgan Yu, a human aboard the space station Talos. However, after an experiment goes wrong, aliens known as the Typhon escape captivity, taking over the station and causing all kinds of havoc. Prey is a first-person shooter with role-playing elements, similar to games like Bioshock and Dishonored. Expect to use a bevy of classic FPS weapons like shotguns and your box-standard space-age glue-based foam cannon. You'll also have some fun using neuromods, which grant players special abilities like hacking, crafting, and even shapeshifting, and sound very much like the plasmids from the Bioshock games. Prey is being touted as a reimagining of the series and has been described by Arcane Studios as a spiritual successor to the System Shock series.
Next up is Injustice 2, releasing on May the 16th on PS4, Xbox One, as well as Android and iOS. Injustice 2 is the sequel to 2013's Injustice: Gods Among Us, a DC Comics fighting game from the creators of Mortal Kombat. Injustice 2 is largely the same as the previous game, with minor adjustments to combat and combos. However, the game's biggest new feature is the addition of the Diablo-style loot system, where after each fight, players will get random gear drops, which can change different character stats. As for the story, Injustice 2 takes place immediately after the events of the first game, with Batman having toppled Superman's dictatorship. Yeah. This
game's got some story. Evil Superman, evil dictator Superman.
However, a group of villains calling themselves the Society emerges with plans for world domination. Early beta impressions for Injustice 2 have been very positive, and it should be one to look out for if you're a fighting game fan.
Also this month we've got The Surge, which is arriving on the 16th of May for PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The Surge is a Dark Souls inspired sci-fi action RPG from Deck 13 and Focus Home Interactive, taking place in a dystopian future where humanity has exhausted the world's natural resources and the line between human and machine is blurred. What makes The Surge stand out from other Souls-like games is the combat system, which lets players target specific body parts of enemies and actually dismember them. These parts are then used to craft new equipment and upgrades. Another unique feature is players have their own exoskeleton, which they upgrade using modular parts, which can be swapped out on the fly, allowing players to modify the gameplay style how they see fit.
Next up we have Mirage Arcane Warfare, out May the 23rd, and it's a PC exclusive. So from the developers of Chivalry Medieval Warfare comes Mirage Arcane Warfare, a competitive multiplayer FPS in an Arabian Nights setting. Mirage's primary focus is first person melee combat with 6 unique character classes, each having their own abilities and roles to play. Early impressions of the game have been mixed to positive, with players being split on the game. Chivalry fans aren't enjoying the colourful visuals and gameplay changes, whereas newcomers are finding it more enjoyable and fresh. If you want to try out the game early, there is an ongoing closed beta that's happening right now.
I got into that beta, and as a big Chivalry fan, I've got to say it's kind of a different experience. It's not exactly what you expect, and it's been heavily influenced by like hero shooters like Overwatch, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's worth the beta's open, like Jake said, so it's worth trying out at the very least. And last but not least, we've got Rime, which is out on PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on May the 26th. Rime is an indie puzzle platformer from Tequila Works, which is finally being released after 4 whole years of development. Rime puts players in control of a young boy who has to escape an island by solving puzzles using the island's environment. So far, not much else is known about Rime, but it has drawn comparisons to games like Journey, Ico, and Shadow of the Colossus. Rime's director Raul Rubio cited Studio Ghibli films as a major inspiration on the game's narrative. Initially a PlayStation 4 exclusive, Rime was announced as a multi-platform game after Tequila Works managed to reacquire the IP rights from Sony, and the game has changed a lot since its first reveal way back in 2013. Rime is scheduled to release on PC, PS4 and Xbox One on May the 26th like we said, but the Switch version has been delayed until the 3rd quarter of this year.
And finally, this month's special mention, we have a VR double bill with 2 potential landmark VR games. So first is Farpoint, a sci-fi shooter for the PSVR, developed by indie studio Impulse Gear. Players find themselves stranded on an uncharted alien world with only a spacesuit and some weapons to keep them company as they attempt to find their way back home. But there's also some aliens intent on ruining their day. Farpoint launches exclusively for PSVR on the 17th of May worldwide. Finally, Star Trek Bridge Crew is coming to the HTC Vive, Oculus Rift and PSVR, courtesy of Ubisoft. Bridge Crew has a team of players operate different parts of a starship at Aegis as they search for a new home for the Vulcans. The game supports up to 4 players, with each player taking on their own role as either the ship captain, tactical officer, engineer or helm officer.
There are top 5 games for May 2017, including some special mentions. What are you looking forward to this month? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and there should be a little link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on your screens right now. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.